Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. Today, we're headed to 1850s Japan,
Oh, cool.
which is a time when Japan was basically cut off from the rest of the world. And our guide for this journey, it's the incredible true story of Manjiro, this Japanese fisherman who, lived in America and then comes back home with all this knowledge about the West.
Yeah.
And to help us unpack all of this, we'll be looking at excerpts from this historical fiction novel, Heart of the Samurai,
Oh,
right alongside a bunch of essays that really dig into Chapter 38.
okay.
Which is where Manjiro is describing America to this powerful Japanese lord.
I see.
So really, I think the heart of this deep dive is, did this one encounter, this meeting of minds, did that play a role in Japan eventually opening up to the West?
It's a great question to explore for sure. Chapter 38 really throws you right into the middle of this cultural exchange, with all the challenges and possibilities that happen when these different worlds come together.
Yeah.
Imagine trying to explain something like the internet to someone who's never even seen a computer.
Oh, wow.
That's the kind of challenge Manjiro's dealing with.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's sort of set the stage here. Imagine you're Manjiro, right?
Right.
You spent time in America, you've experienced this totally different way of life, and now you're back in Japan, basically a prisoner, because the authorities are like, wait, what do we do with you? What do we do with what you know?
Right.
So Chapter 38 drops us right into this pivotal moment where he's brought before Lord Nariakira, who's a daimyo, which basically means he's like this super powerful feudal lord
Okay.
in Japanese society. Can you imagine being a lowly fisherman standing in front of this figure of authority?
And not just any fisherman. He's got all this knowledge about a world they can barely even imagine.
Exactly. So how do you even begin to explain something as different as America?
Right.
Well, in Heart of a Samurai, Manjiro starts small.
Okay.
He talks about everyday things like women wearing earrings,
You
or
thought-
get this reading while using the toilet.
Oh.
You can practically hear the record scratch as he's describing something so normal to Americans, but so strange to his audience.
Yeah.
It really emphasizes just how big the cultural gap is.
It's a really smart tactic when you think about it.
Mhm.
He's making them curious, showing them that this other world isn't necessarily bad, just different.
Right.
And then he changes gears and starts describing these almost unbelievable technologies like telegraph sending messages without a messenger,
Wow.
and trains moving so fast they're a blur.
Yeah, like what?
Imagine their faces. It would have been like someone from the future just walked in.
It's true. And you can really sense Lord Nariakira's mind working, because this isn't about beaded earrings anymore. It's about power, the
Yeah.
power of knowledge and technology.
Yeah.
He even sketches a steamship for them.
And that's where these essays offer really great insight.
Okay.
They highlight how this meeting, it's about way more than just cool gadgets.
Yeah.
It's about two completely different ways of looking at the world colliding. And Manjiro isn't just explaining these mind-blowing things, he's walking a tightrope.
Oh, how so?
He has to impress the daimyo with America's advancements, but without making Japan look weak or behind in the process.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's a tough balancing act. It really makes you think, what would it be like to come across something so different, so outside your own world?
Right. And it's not like he's just chatting with a buddy here, you know?
Exactly.
He's talking to someone with power.
Yeah.
A leader who could easily throw him in prison or worse if he says the wrong thing.
Yeah. Talk about pressure.
Absolutely. And that's something a lot of the essays focus on,
sure.
how delicate Manjiro's situation really is.
Right.
But what's interesting is how he handles it.
Thought.
He's obviously blown away by what he saw in America, these advancements, but he doesn't just praise everything blindly.
Yeah.
He's strategic about it. Like
Yeah.
when he describes the U.S. military,
Right here.
he makes a point of saying they're focused on their own development, not on conquering other nations. It's like he's reassuring the daimyo, saying, hey, no need to worry about those Americans. They're too busy with their railroads and stuff to even bother with us.
Exactly.
But even with that, you can sense this, underlying tension, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Because the knowledge itself equals power.
Exactly. And this is where things get really interesting. You realize as you read these essays and they break down the power dynamics,
Yeah,
you realize that Manjiro's knowledge, it's like a bargaining chip.
I see.
He can't just say whatever he wants. He has to be careful how much He reveals how he presents this knowledge to satisfy the daimyo's curiosity without setting off any alarms.
So it's like he's this walking, talking treasure chest of information, and the
Yes,
daimyo wants to unlock it.
exactly.
But Manjiro's the one holding the key, and he's turning it very, very slowly.
That's a great way to put it, and it really reflects this broader pattern we see throughout history.
How so?
Think about it. The spread of knowledge has always been tied to power,
Yeah.
you know?
Think about the importance of libraries in the ancient world, or the invention of the printing press. Whoever controls information well, they have a lot of influence.
That's a great point. It really makes you wonder, what would it have been like to be Manjiro in that moment? To have this unique knowledge that could shape the future of your country,
Yeah.
but also understanding that it could be dangerous.
It's a heavy burden to carry, for sure. And it's important to remember Manjiro isn't just this passive vessel of information.
Okay.
Some of the essays point out he's grappling with his own internal conflict.
Yeah.
He's clearly impressed by what he's seen in the West,
Right.
but he's still deeply connected to his Japanese roots.
He's caught between two worlds.
Exactly. And it's that duality, that inner struggle that makes him such a fascinating figure. He embodies the difficulties, but also the amazing opportunities that come with cultural exchange.
It's a tightrope walk, for sure. Trying to balance that admiration for the new with respect for what's familiar.
Absolutely.
And this is where I think Heart of a Samurai really pulls you in. It's not just, listing historical facts.
Yeah.
It's about the human stories behind those events.
Absolutely. And chapter 38 ends on such a powerful image.
Yeah.
Lord Nariakira is studying a world map,
Okay.
the very one that Manjiro brought back from his travels.
Wow.
It's like he's seeing the world through Manjiro's eyes for the first time, understanding how big it really is and how many other cultures are out there beyond Japan's borders.
And then there's that line from Manjiro that really got me thinking.
Which one?
He says, I believe good will come out of this changing world.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much packed into that one sentence. What do you think he meant by that?
It's definitely a message of hope,
Yeah.
but also a recognition that the future is uncertain. The world is changing, it's becoming more connected.
Right.
And that map, it becomes this powerful symbol of what's at stake. The vastness of the world, the connections between different nations and the huge possibilities, but maybe also the anxieties that come with realizing all of that.
Right. And historically, we know that Japan does go through this huge modernization period, the Meiji Restoration.
Right.
So it makes you wonder, could this encounter between Manjiro and Lord Nariakira, this little spark of cultural exchange, could it have actually played a role in that massive shift? What do you think?
It's impossible to say for sure.
Yeah.
But it's a fascinating thought. It's like that butterfly effect,
Right.
The idea that even something seemingly small, a single conversation, can have these ripple effects that we might not even fully grasp.
That's what makes history so interesting. It's not just about dates and names in a book. It's about people like Manjiro who are caught up in these big changes, trying to navigate a world that's on the verge of something new.
And in their stories, I think they challenge us to do the same.
How so?
What makes you wonder, what would you have done if you were in Manjiro's shoes? Facing that kind of situation, would you be brave enough to speak your truth, to share what you know, even when it felt risky?
From beaded earrings and flushing toilets to steamships and the fate of nations and the very idea of knowledge itself. That's quite the deep dive.
It really is. It reminds us that even in a world that's becoming more and more connected, bridging cultural differences, understanding new perspectives, it takes courage and empathy and a willingness to step outside our comfort zones, just like Manjiro did all those years ago.
Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us on this journey through time and culture. We'll see you on our next deep dive.